Well, we have a lot of really big topics in UX, and often topics that are so big that we simply can't capture them in a 3-minute punchy video. And often these topics benefit significantly more from having some really rich perspectives from our team. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity to dig deeper. And one of the topics that comes to mind for me is trust.
I'll jump right in. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a project that was successful that did not lean on trust. Because I think ultimately in our field, even if we do all the right things, if no one believes in it or no one supports it or no one gives us resources to actually see it through, then it's all rather useless.
I think too, Sarah, for us in UX positions, it's even more critical a lot of times because we are a business role that is somewhat more nascent than the other roles in our organization. And so it's a big part of our responsibility to be building that trust, even with team members who might not know what UX is or what value UX can play in our processes.
I recall I was the first user experience professional in an organization, and I really had to take the time to actually understand why they hired me, what I was hired for, who I was reporting to, and how much they knew about UX. And I think the interesting thing that I realized was that it really took some time and delivering good work to build that trust, prove out the value, and subsequently continue building the investment in more user experience work. So I think trust and kind of delivering in parallel, you're kind of building trust and doing both at the same time.
I think everybody has a role in building that trust. There's a metaphor that I always think about. I think it's attributed to Stephen Covey in a book that he wrote. It's the piggy bank of trust. Every interaction that you have with someone, it's true for us as UXers, it's true just for humans in general, is a chance to build your piggy bank of trust. That way, when you do get to situations where you want to make tough decisions or you really want to argue, convince, persuade because you believe in something strongly enough, you have enough coins in that bank to spend some of them on that argument. And like Anna said, every time we deliver work and deliver good experience, we are building out that bank.
I think that there's a lot of different types of things we can deposit that build trust, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. And I think that those activities all contribute to this, sitting total. So I think building trust with individuals is one way. I think delivering work is another. I think creating allies that then you trade potentially responsibilities or favors is another way to build trust.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing here is it's sort of like an investment. Trust is an investment, and you have to budget that trust. You have to put money in a way, and also know when you're able to take some out. So who's responsible for the budget of trust, I guess, is my next question.
So I think we have an individual role to play and then also a role collectively together to build trust. I also think leadership and management has a big part to play in fostering an environment and creating a safe space where trust can build among individuals. They can get to know each other as people as well as professional peers. So I think creating that safe space and seeing that demonstrated from leadership certainly enables trust to be built.
I totally agree, Anna. I think that trust is a balance. Everyone has a role to play in trust, but just thinking of, if you're a manager or a leader and you hire someone, that is a investment of trust. And we need to give people that we've hired the space in order to innovate, do their job, play their role in a way that builds trust. Even as individual contributors, though, we should be building trust with our leadership too, in the ways that we have integrity in the processes that we follow, the deliverables that we create. And I think a big role of that can be education.
So this is sort of getting me thinking about all of the times that it may have been difficult to get that trust. No. I mean, it is a lot of onus on us. It's certainly a bit of onus on us, for sure, to build that relationship. So I'm curious how you all may have navigated a situation where maybe trust was kind of difficult to build, where the piggy bank may have been a bit sparse to start with.
I think it's such an interesting idea to even just reflect on times that you were able to build trust and actually being really thoughtful about what it was that did that. In my situation, I started on a team with 40 developers.
and these developers had never worked with a designer. So certainly in part it's education, but you can't educate someone who doesn't want to be educated. So if you don't have that pathway, what do you do if that is the segue to trust? And for me, it was asking myself, where did they already have trust on their team? And then latching on to something or someone that they all really trusted. And in this case, I think this would probably fall under finding an ally, but being really strategic about who that ally is, and that ally being kind of the conduit to trust, and at least opening the door to be able to work with others who maybe weren't as receptive.
Absolutely. And I think in those moments too, where you have someone who isn't receptive to user experience, whether it's research, whether it's our entire process, whether it's design, I think taking a step back and determining, where is this lack of trust coming from, or this potential conflict? Where is this stemming from? Is it that I'm newer in the organization and maybe the individuals or groups that I'm having a tough time building trust with? Is it that they assume to have been doing UX up until this point? Are they threatened or nervous about working with user experience if they're less familiar? So understanding where that lack of trust or that fragile trust is coming from, I think, is really important. And then determining, what can I do specifically to help ease that apprehension, or make that other person, make that team look good as a result of my UX work.
Yeah, I love the advice of finding an ally. For me, I was at an organization one point where I was literally the first UX person. But how I built trust was inviting people into my processes. So inviting them to come to workshops with me, just like we talk about the same idea of inviting people to come into user testing and see some of those observations firsthand is a powerful thing to build awareness and therefore trust.
I think knowing someone's language of trust is also the other piece of it, which you kind of have to diagnose. Yeah, love language of, okay, whether it's certain people or certain teams or other departments, what is their language of trust? And, in some, it might be hitting a certain metric that you promised to hit. In others, it might be ownership. And that's what I'm hearing from you, Kate. Inviting people in to have a little bit of ownership over your process helps them build trust. And that's their love language of trust.
Yeah, exactly. I once had a really wise UX mentor say, it's not you versus them, it's you all together versus the problem. And I think that was a really helpful set of language to use in terms of thinking about, we're not at odds with one another, let's work together to really solve this problem or capitalize on this opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, I think this has been all really helpful advice, and I certainly feel a lot better about pursuing any challenges relating to trust, and glad I trust you all as well. So thank you all for joining me today.
Thanks,
Thanks, Therese.